I'm going to show you the APA style you need to set up your paper for this particular course. Now, I'm not going into great detail and depth for the full range of APA style in terms of the title page, page numbers, abstract page, table of contents, and some other pieces that are really key to APA style where you're headed. I would like you to understand the margins, the fonts, the font size. There will be headings, but we're only going to be using one heading. I want you to understand double spacing and the hanging indent. And I also want to make sure you know how to set a single space in Word, since apparently that is no longer the default setting. So let's begin with layout. On the layout, I want you to go in and make sure it's 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch. That's called normal currently in Word. Select for that. I want you to go over and look at the spacing. This is spacing after a line. Now, when you have 8-point spacing after a line, you have almost a double space. Turn this into 0. That way your single space will be single space and your double space will be double. This is important in terms of when you have an assignment that wants you to use APA style where things may be single or double spaced, or if you have another instructor who needs you to follow a particular format. And sometimes you might look at your single space and realize that's not right. And it's under layout and it's under spacing after. The next thing I'm going to go to is home. I'm going to make sure I use only one of 2 fonts you can use for APA 7th edition, Times New Roman, or Arial. Make sure, because you can type in the name here, Arial has a lot of versions. Let me spell it with an A. Arial, use the plain one. Either you, let's kind of use this or use Times New Roman, and only use 12-point. The difference between the two, some of you will be bothered by serifs, and some of you will be bothered by the lack of serifs. So pick the one that brings you the most happiness, is where I'll go with this. In some cases, you might have instructors that have other suggestions or allowances, so make sure always to follow the rules of the person who's grading your paper. Understand APA style sometimes is treated like a suggestion, and there may be augmentations made to it not only by your instructor, but by publications that accept your work. So I want you to put your name in single space, which now should be no problem once you fix that. This is going to be LIB 101. Sometimes I call it LIS because that used to be a number that I taught for it. And I'd like to have the module. And I put bibliography in process. I just want you to know it's not finished yet, but it will be, and it's part of the whole plan. Sorry about this. Some days I type better than others. Bibliography in process. Now the next pieces you'll put in are going to be the heading pieces. For Module 1 you do have, I'm using a database because I give you some choices, but mostly you're going to have thesis. It's going to be all caps and bold. The next part is going to be keywords. It's all caps and bold. The next thing is going to be your things that you've actually found. Let's imagine it's a scholarly article. And let's imagine it's a magazine article. So that's what the simple structure will be. Now your thesis will be in single words. Rather, it's going to be in a single space. So I'm going to finish this. I expect your thesis to be single space, but put the little space there for readability. So this will be single space. You'll have a space here in keywords. Now you're going to have 15 of them by the end, so those 2 I would like to have in single space. Just like so. And every week when you add 3, just keep 3 that are most current. I don't need to see them all into the end. I like to see them 3 together, the 3 new ones, so I can see the freshness and understand where you're going and see how it connects to your research, because I love it when your keywords reflect the changing nature of research and how you build your keyword sections. Here, we'll imagine that I went and I found this wonderful scholarly article and magazine article, and I'll be using them for this module too. This is imaginary, by the way, but also real, because these are real pieces I took from EBSCO, Academic Search Premier, looking for something on birds and art, a scholarly article and a magazine article. Now, if you notice when I copy and pasted and brought these in, these are not the same font. This is really something that happens often, so I want to show you the easiest way to fix this. And actually, before you turn in your work, this is a great way, and I'm not talking just this class, but any class where you need to make sure your font is the same. Do Control A, and it highlights your entire paper. When this disappears, that means your font has changed. It's different in some place, so get your right font and get back your right size. I want to show you this. Control A. See how this stays? This lets you know that your paper is all Arial and all in 12 point. When you're working with APA and some of the other documentation styles, this is really important. It's not petty. It's just kind of a standard. And as you go along, you'll figure out, yes, in fact, it does lead to readability. You're bringing all this information from all these different places. They all have different styles of spelling and the way they appear and the way the elements, the author title, and all these things are different. But when you bring them in APA, you put this particular style on it and create an order, so when you see in-text or narrative pieces up in the text, you know exactly where to find it in the works cited, and it's really very beautiful. So I've put these in. I've made sure that the font is correct, but the format is not altogether correct yet. In APA references in the works cited section, and also in my version of the annotated work that we're working on, this is going to be in the works cited format. Now that means that it's going to be, have a hanging indent of 0.5, and it's going to be double spaced. See how that looks? It's beautiful. Now, if you've ever tried to do this manually or with a tab, this thing moved all over the place. Here, usually if you do a backspace or do a delete in front of a line, if it doesn't seem like it makes sense, I will do this just to see if it fits, and it doesn't. See how it maintained that hanging indent? If you use that format, things will be awesome. I'm going to go down here. Look at this. Right click. Let's go to paragraph options. Hanging indent. Double space. And there it is. It's okay. Now let's look at it. When you copy and paste in a reference from the databases, PubMed, and some of the other areas that may give you a suggestion, or if you're using a citation generator, they may not be absolutely correct, but they might get you really close. So let's go over it. An APA and a scholarly article piece, and all of them, it will be an author's last name, first and middle initials, and you're going to use up to 20 of them. The next piece is going to be the publication date. It's in parentheses. It ends with a period. In the title, nothing is capitalized except the first word, a word that follows a colon, or a proper noun or noun phrase. Here, that means angels is capitalized, but these words are not, so you will need to change them. When you're after the colon, that is capitalized. These are not. They're not proper nouns or proper noun phrases, and they're not following the colon, and they're not the first word. So they're in something called title case, and title case is what you use in APA for the journal, magazine, and newspaper titles. Now this is a name, so we're keeping this as is. We see that the journal name is capitalized all the way through, as it should be. It is title case. Oops. And here, this is italicized. That's the volume number. with a journal name. Very important. The issue number is in parentheses right next to it, comma, beginning and ending page number. In this case, we had a DOI, so we're going to use that. Now you will use your own words to create an annotation. We start really small and work up to 150 to 300 words. That should be single spaced. So the next piece is a magazine article. We're going to go through it. The last name, first initial, that's correct for our authors. The publication date is in parentheses. We have here Infusing Art and Play, how birds inspired St. Paul, Minnesota's newly transformed Western Sculpture Park. Yes, proper noun, name of a park, name of a city, first word. The name of the magazine is italicized and is capitalized correctly. The volume number is italicized. We have an issue number in parentheses, comma, beginning and ending page numbers, period. And like, how do you get these? Well, each assignment, I give you a link to a model in APA Style blog. So you can use each one of those links. The link has a model of what it should look like, and underneath it, it tells you the rules for each section. Also, here we are, the Western Sculpture Park information. I have a little annotation. You'll see it's single spaced. I'm like, wow, is that really 12 point? It looks a little different, but it is. So this is essentially how your paper will look every week. You will put in your new keywords. You'll make sure your thesis is up to date. You'll put in your double space 0.5 hanging indent reference. You will put your annotation in single spaces right underneath, and so on. And it should look exactly like this. Now, the next thing to make sure of is that you set it up like this continuously to make sure you don't bring in odd formats from other things that will mess up your final project. I know this is long. It's almost 12 minutes, but I want to make sure that you understood the way to set it up. I think in some cases, while I do have the example in front of each assignment, I think some people have made copies of it and then tried to put it in Word, and what I'm using is Google Drive. So that might be the error. And some people may be trying to set up as an APA paper when we're just using part of the format for APA. It's relatively stripped down, but these are very important things for you to know. So if you ever have any question, let me know. And it's always okay to speed up my videos if I take too long. I probably sound awesome as a chipmunk. Have a really great day. If you have any questions, you know where I'm at.